you. Good morning. I'm going to run through a quick slideshow, which is not new. I've been using these slides, I think, for the past 10 years. Nothing has changed, except now you got the AI factor coming into it. Right? We'll talk about AI later on during the Q&A. Let's start with the slide presentation. Okay, this is standard fare, but nobody believes in this, and nobody helps you threaten the culture of integrity at all in this country. Sad to say, in our job, not only investigate ordinary journalists, there are all kinds of roadblocks that are placed to prevent dissemination of correct information. So you have a minister of not communication, if you have a minister of miscommunication, right? And I must add that the media, so-called media council, is a toothless dog, right? Although everything on media is supposed to come under them, these have been usurped by various other enforcement agencies, including the special branch, including individuals who come and harass you. This is it. But my first point I want to make is investigative journalism is not dangerous. Not dangerous. More people die on the roads and get injured on the roads than journalists who are doing this kind of work. Okay, and let's move to the next slide. Okay, all these are quotes. I think if journalists had been allowed to do their jobs, one MDB would not have happened to the extent it is happening. When the story first broke by journalists, there was denial. At the end of it all now, according to the latest reports in Parliament, the total loss has been about 40+ billion, of which they have paid some, and 20 billion has not been paid. So when Sarawak Report and then later the Age ran a series of stories, they closed down the Age. They blocked Sarawak Report. The Age was suspended for 3 months. But they continued looting the government. So at that stage, had they listened to the media, we would have saved a lot of money. We could have built maybe 10, 12 first-class hospitals, employed more doctors, etc., etc. Let's move on.
Next slide, Tianing.
Yep. So it's self-explanatory what the investigative journalism is all about. It's actually the key word is discover. Okay, you discover the hidden truths, the hidden agenda in many cases. Okay, move on. I'm running through these slides. I want to give more time for Q&A. I like an interactive session. Otherwise, I'll be putting you to sleep because some of you may have heard of this before. Carry on. Okay. All these things are happening right in front of our eyes in our country. Personal enrichment, yes. Political financing. If you're observing or rather following the court case of former Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin, you look at political financing, how contracts become created to create political funds. Cronyism, you can see father-daughter, father-son, father-son-in-law all over there. Nepotism, tax evasion. Now, of course, the biggest tax dodger is Najib Abdul Razak, who owes about 1.6 billion. Okay. You and I pay first, talk later. VIPs can drag it along. Okay. Misuse of power, including the current Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim. On the 7 foreign footballers, his hands are so into it, he has not refused to answer questions I've raised. Consolation power, escape from prosecution, AK-47, sorry, Zahid, 47 charges. defense called, case withdrawn. Next. Okay. All these organizations are under the control of the government. So try and get simple information, say from the police. Now, how many of you all remember the Durian Tunggal shooting, where the 3 innocent people were murdered by the policeman, as the forensic report has just been released? We do not know what happened to the policeman, why it's taking long for prosecution. Otherwise, if you're an ordinary man like you and I are suspected of being suspects, they would have locked us up, charged us, no bail, and left to rot in jail. But the policemen involved are walking around, still with their uniforms, with their authority cards, to continue to do more damage. Gone. Before I just finish this, I'm sure 2-3 days ago, you all would have read about the report from the Enforcement Agency's Integrity Commission, EAIC, on the 7 footballers. They made their findings, right? Very politely put, improper use actually was illegal. So I've written to the AIC asking for notes of proceedings. What happened then? That's because Section 35 of the Act states the hearing shall be open to the public. If it can be open to the public, then what's the big deal of not issuing it? So I got a very polite reply. Thank you very much. We table at the next meeting next month. So I got to wait until next month. Hopefully they agree. Otherwise, got to write another story saying, why are you not releasing? Thank you. Carry on. Oh, okay. Murray and me have been victims of one of these laws. Okay. What is worrying about Official Secrets Act, as far as I'm concerned, I've got no qualms about the act as long as it's aimed at protecting the security of the country. But you look at some of the process. If you're a civil servant and I ask you for information, supposed to be classified information, if he does not report my request, he can be charged. So innocently, I ask a civil servant, hey, brother, what's happening in this case? He can actually report you and say, Nades requested for this information. Otherwise, he's guilty. So these are the real screws they put on civil servants when it comes to dissemination of information. I was telling Anil earlier how easy is it for me to use the UK Freedom of Information Act. When you write them a request and ask for information, you get a standard reply which says, we'll reply you within 21 days. And if there's going to be a further delay, we will inform you. And there's a clause there which says, if additional cost to be incurred, we shall bill it to you. Fair enough. But before the 21 days, you get a reply. Here, I'm sure all of you all who have done FOI request in Penang, I'm sure you're facing the same roadblocks. Okay? I'm told the Jelutong landfill request for information on the Jelutong landfill. The FOI people have said it's confidential. Let's move on. While at this, there are 43 pieces of legislation which journalists have to be afraid of, or rather comes under the purview of various. The last count we had 43. This you only have 2, 4, 5. You got Copyright Act, you got all kinds of other acts that we are governed by. Okay, let's move on. Okay, we have all had a fair share of legal suits. Okay. Najib Razak versus Malaysia Kini, 2014. I think it's discontinued. These are only a few of them. There are many more. The latest being the chairman of MCMC suing one of my fellow columnists, Guna Segram, for the article he wrote on the LRT3. And Guna has actually said all information on that article came from what is available in the public domain. and has offered to give them their side of the story. They have not got back. I was also sued by the same person many years ago. But all they want to do is, they don't want anything. They want you to just want to apologize and feel great. Thank you. Carry on. Now, if you think corruption only exists elsewhere, not within the journalistic field, you're mistaken. This is the time journalists get corrupted, election time. I remember when I was working in one of the newspapers, maybe in the 80s, journalists who went to cover the elections in Sarawak all came back with brand new handphones. Okay. I've known people who have been using test cars for 9 months, 10 months with a petrol card thrown in. Okay. Fortunately, that was stopped thanks to Kalimullah, who came over and took over NSC. And he asked them to return the cars, and that kind of things happen. Okay. Of course, now you see news portals which are dependent on government funds, who just write what the government wants. Otherwise, they don't get their subsidy and allocation. And you saw it yesterday or day before yesterday, the article saying that the Johor polls was a win for Anwar when everybody knew it was a slap in the face for him. But this is how these portals are turned over with the offer of money. That is also corruption. Carry on. Okay, I don't want to mention because this is an ongoing case, and Guaning happens to be a friend of mine before he became a minister and all that. Carry on. It will be unfair for me to comment. Okay, all this mentioned. Let's move on. Let's move on past a little. Now, Section 165 is hardly used now. Now they use the MACC Act. Okay. So I was once told by my bosses, why are you going and waiting at roadblocks, taking photographs of policemen taking $30? But after he collects $30, he goes and buys a packet of nasi goreng for the family, buys the children a new pair of shoes. You should going out to those who take 30 million and put in Swiss bank. That was advice from one of my bosses. Okay. Chris told you I got a lot to talk. I'm very proud I sent him to jail. I've been after him ever since he took his first flight. He has never flown in his life, and he became the Menteri Besar. First time he's flying on an airplane. Okay. I've been tracking him from the time he took office until he went to jail. Even before going to jail, he wanted to cite me for contempt, because on the eve of the sentencing, sentence was deferred by a day. I wrote a piece. I wrote two pieces. One said, if you do the crime, you must do the time, and gave a summary of his thing. So his lawyer, Shafi, told the court, I should be cited for contempt. The judges said, no, we were not influenced by his writing. Thank you very much. So till last day he was after me. Carry on. Okay. Of course, anti-money laundering. There are so many cases people have gotten away free. The poor people, sometimes you're caught in between this. You see, they can't get you on corruption. They get you on money laundering, because if you receive the money, ill-gotten money, and you use it, they call it laundering. Okay. Of course, there are others who transfer the money to the wife. It's laundering. Some of them buy, like the army guy who bought 23 Rolex watches. Are you all aware of that guy? I wrote a piece a month ago. Why does somebody need 23 watches? Now, these watches is a favorite of the politicians, corrupt politicians. Now, I discovered something. In a building in Kuala Lumpur, on the 4th floor of a shopping complex, the luxury watch shop is on the ground floor. You buy the watch with the box intact and everything, get the receipt, You can go up to the fourth floor and get cash after 20% discount. So you pay $200,000 for what somebody has paid for you. You can go up there, give it back, and collect 160,000 in cash. It's operated by the luxury watch fellow. The police are aware of this. I've written to the police. I wrote to the police, I don't know how long ago, said this is happening. Nothing happened. He's still thriving. Go on. Then you are the other laws. Okay. Now, one of the biggest abuse is in the National Land Code. How does a green lung suddenly become converted for development, for housing, or for commercial purposes? There's a big thing going on in Kuala Lumpur right now. There's a very funny shaped, rectangular shaped land which was reserved next to the Tenaga National Headquarters opposite Pantai Hospital. Somebody got that converted for development. Big hoo-ha. I think the minister has got involved because it was done by her predecessor. So the power of the EXCO in converting land knows no bounds. Okay. One of the stories happened to a friend. The other thing is within the system, there are tracts of land which the owner has not paid quit rent for. This goes back to the old days of the Chettiars who went back to India to make babies and then come back here, right? And they die there. The property is still in his name. No quit rent paid. The file is not moving. Suddenly a new file is created. Somebody takes ownership. Okay. Another case happened in Kuala Lumpur. It was reported. I wrote about it. This Dr. Muhammad, who was a former partner of Hanafi Raslan Muhammad, which is now Deloitte. He was driving past Jalan Duta. He saw some people on his land. Land was no development yet. And he said, what are you doing here? Oh, we just bought the land. He said, no, I've never sold the land. So he sued the Kuala Lumpur Commissioner of Lands and Mines and won his case. If he had not seen it or if he had died, that would have been gone. That would have gone. Okay, move on. One of the things, sorry, I'm going to relate some personal experiences, then you will know. One of the best things that happened to us journalists was Abdullah Badawi. Okay. He changed the the Anti-Corruption Act to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, giving them more powers. And he called me and Terence Fernandez for lunch at his house and say, listen, you guys got to support this bill. And one of the clauses that was in the bill was something on these lines. It is an offense for anyone to own assets or live in a lifestyle not proportionate to the declared income. Okay, that clause was there. The bill was tabled on Monday. We had written about it. I met Kitchan. We met Anwar, telling him the importance of the bill. The bill was not tabled. And it was deferred 2 weeks later. That clause had been taken out. From what we heard, a big UMNO delegation went there and told him, we cannot put this clause in, all of us will go to jail. You know, like Hong Kong, they fought this with this law. ICAC, when corruption was rife back in the 70s, right? They just made it very simple. You have more than, you explain, the onus is on you. Now, UK has introduced the unexplained wealth order. So the moment they see you wearing necklace, diamonds, they come and ask you, under the wealth order, they ask you to explain where you got the wealth from. If you can't, the state takes it away. So here, if you issue wealth, unexplained wealth orders, most of the UMNO division leaders will have to explain. And there won't be enough place in a prison to keep them out in special cells. Okay. Now, I don't laugh because I've seen guys crashing their Porsches, 22, 23 years old. I'm no youth leader. You look at them. You see, the trouble is information is not available to us. If you do if you can get that kind of information, how many Rolex watches were imported into the country? And you look at it and you say disproportionate to the number of millionaires. But such information is classified. Rolex won't release it, right? Because there are actually parallel imports of Rolex. They buy cheaper elsewhere and bring it into sell because they're all serial numbered with a certificate and everything else. So there's nothing wrong with parallel imports. Okay, let's move on. Can we move on? Okay. One of the problems all of us face is our bosses. Because sometimes a job like this takes 2 months, 3 months. And they say, why not working on no story? Right? When I was a younger investigative reporter, this was what I got. Okay? And later, when I mastered it and I became the editor, I could understand reporters taking time. And they don't want to invest, okay, in people's time. Okay? They would rather you go attend press conference, come back with like a parrot and write what they say. Okay. The fear of repercussions, I don't think it's happening. Okay. The only recent case of repercussion was, it should be written about soon. 2 editors from The Age were charged for under the Defamation Act. You know what was the offense? Writing out a syndicate operating the penny stocks. Okay. Now the complainant was one Dato something who felt aggrieved. My question is, if he felt aggrieved, right, then he should file a civil suit like everybody else. Why did the state go to prosecute them? Now you have got the Rina Nini case now. Again, she's charged with defaming Farhash, Anwar's good friend. Right? Why is the state getting involved in prosecuting under the Defamation Act? Because the Defamation Act was originally scheduled to protect the government and government servants from false accusations. Okay? So now we have this. Fortunately, in the case of The Age, the charges were withdrawn after a lot of articles were written and questioning why the police had to do it. Now, if penny stocks are being manipulated, at that time we never heard of corporate mafia yet, when they were charged. Right? So, if penny stocks are being manipulated, and the editors are charged, you'll ask, why don't the reporters be charged? H took a decision, no bylines or credits will be given on this story because the syndicates will target you. So they couldn't get anyone. They got the AG to go for the editors. Now with the corporate mafia out, can you see the link? How the mafia is linked to all this? Without such a link, the AG will never approve the charges. This happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So you know how the system works. So when people talk about corporate mafia, it doesn't stop at MACC and Azam Baki. It goes beyond that. They've spread the tentacles everywhere. Okay, let's move on. Okay. I'm a great believer in being friends with everyone, especially Aliran C4, transferring, all the names mentioned there. You got a good networking and it helps. I think I came here back 15 years ago and met up with Anil on the unplanned development in Batufringi many, many years ago. So I still keep that relationship going, okay? Politicians, yes. I'm friends on both sides. Hear both sides of the story, get inside information on both sides, and it remains that way. Next. Friends in low places. This is what I will tell you my story. As a young reporter, I was based in Klang, a small town at that time. And every month, the press call, they had, all of us were close-knit society, but 5 of us, Chinese newspapers and all. Every month, we have a session with a mortuary attendance. All of us got to contribute 2 bottles, big bottles of stout those days for the party. Okay? The mortuary attendant will cook their food and bring. And it's not a bribe, just like a party, have a drink. So anything happens in the mortuary, you get a call. That time there were no handphones, right? And one morning I got a call at 2 a.m. Hey, what are you doing? Sleeping? Yeah, I got a case here, The fellow died after eating crabs. We're doing the postmortem now. That kind of relationship we build with low down. And again, when I was writing about the corruption in the PJ Council, the guys who I dealt with were office boys, clerks. Actually, they all cut out of the deal, so they were angry, so they're willing to talk. So the lower down you go, the better information you get. Okay. Yes. Everything comes with a price. I know people who work with me have now gone to the other side. Instead of exposing, they are helping cover up. Of course, diligence, trustworthy, participation, share knowledge and expertise. That's what I'm doing, sharing my knowledge and expertise. But I can't teach you how to investigate. It comes out as you go along, you learn. Okay, get it. Next one. Okay, let me go right at the bottom. I think the practice is still going on. During my time, if you go for a press conference, they give you dog gift. Some pens, sometimes notepads. So I had a policy in the office in the Sun that anybody who gets a dog gift must put it in a common box. End of the month, we have a lucky draw, even the office boy is entitled to one of those. It was very fair until the union stepped in and said, the gift was given to the reporter, right? It doesn't belong, you cannot interfere. So I had to give it up. Okay. Hampers come to the office, personally addressed to you, open it up, share. Cakes will come for Raya and Deepavali. I take cakes and send to the production department, who never get anything. The poor guys will print their paper at the night. Okay. Or marketing gets their own. But I look after the circulation and the market and the printing boys. They are the guys who they even put the paper out. Nobody will read what you wrote. So I finished the bottom one. All right. Yeah. Check and balance. Now, what happens when you try to balance? I had this when I started the PKFZ story. The first story appeared 2 years before the whole scandal, before the report, Long Ticket ordered the report. And when you asked, that time I was sending faxes. Can you please respond? Phone calls, never answered. What happens then? I offered you a chance. So as a final resort, I sent a note by AR registered post. Here's a chance to give your side of the story. If you do not respond, do not accuse me or not giving you a chance to speak. They never got back to me until the scandal broke. Okay. So you protect yourself, keep your notes, copies of your letters. Okay, let's move. Okay. I did the top story. You know, lots of low-cost housing units in Petaling Jaya owned by council staff. We tracked the director of not enforcement, director of planning. She got 2 units. And every month she collects, that time was 350 ringgit. I don't know how much is it now. And when cornered, she said she was rewarded by the Deputy Menteri Besar for the zero squatter program, which was so successful in Selangor, supposedly. Okay, so even if NPBJ staff do it, it's condoned by the bosses. So they still own the land. We published a list of the council staff who own this, including engineers, other officers and MPPJ who own these houses. That list came from inside from my office boy. The list of the whole lot of owners of all the low-cost flats managed by MPPJ. From that list, we started ticking and then found this out. Okay. I always say this. You choose journalism as a profession, not as a source of income. If you don't have the passion for it, just go into PR, earn big bucks, or become speech writers for politicians, which many of my fellow journalists are now doing. And they find big money there from politicians. Have a support system. Yes. I didn't have researchers, but I used interns who come to help me with my research. Now that I'm glad to say 2 of my interns won an award last night. Raga Nandini came as an intern from USPI. Yeah. And last night, she and Charles Rameder, my crime reporter, reporting directly to me. Both of them won an award last night, the MPI Awards. So Raga was like a researcher helping me. So it's good grounding. Good. Now that I'm alone, I have to do all the research myself. Okay. Okay, empower yourself with tools and knowledge. Now, one of the first things I did when I joined the Sun, I told the IT guy to remove the spell check. It made reporters lazy. If you intend to type TWO and type TOW, the spell check won't catch, right? So I saw this, and I suddenly realized the guys are not reading the copy before handing it to me, because they put through spell check. Okay, so it comes. So I removed it. Again, the union made noise. This is too loud. Now you got AI. How do you catch? Through experience, I know if in writing, this is not your work. I can spot, because there are cases of people who think in Tamil and write in English. Those who think in Malay and write in English, or think in Mandarin, right? So they are translating. We are in the proper context. But when you come and give me a clean copy like from AI, I can catch you. But it's still happening. Okay, editors are not careful. If you do use AI, I won't give you a byline at all. Okay, now we'll talk about that later, about AI. Okay. Yes. If you don't do the investigation, nobody will know about it. Okay. Next, please. Oh, done. Good.